Hello, welcome to this Hangout on Air from Suntico. Coming up today, 5 ways that Suntico helps the finance team in a company that uses Sage 50 accounting. If you're new to this is one in a series of Hangouts on Air that we've been running over the last number of weeks, specifically looking at different ways that Suntico helps companies that use Sage 50 accounting. My name is Hugh Johnson. I'm Senior Vice President of Business Development at Suntico. If you like what you hear on this Hangout on Air, please tell your friends, share it on your social networks, tell your colleagues. If you don't like what you hear, please let me know. You can of course tell your friends and colleagues as well, but that's entirely up to you. But please let me know. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter, or by email, and I'll give out my email address at the end of this Hangout on Air. On the agenda today, we're talking about how Suntico can help the finance team in a busy company that uses Sage 50 accounting. We'll be looking very briefly at the problem or the dilemma between maintaining absolute control over your data and providing access of that data to other people within your company. And then we'll look at 5 reasons why, as a finance team, why you may want to adopt Suntico. Looking at the ability to grant safe access to your Sage 50 data by people outside your finance team, the ability to track tasks relating to your Sage 50 records either within your team or across the company, the ability to provide mobile access to your customer information for your salespeople out on the road to stop them having to call you to check up maybe on the status of an invoice or status of a customer order, the ability to add attachments and other documentation to purchase orders and sales orders. This is something you can't currently do in Sage 50 accounting. And finally, the ability to discuss and approve your Sage 50 transactions across the business. So if we go straight on and we look at the sharing dilemma, and I suppose it's a very, very simple point that I'm trying to make here. And the point really is that a data messenger as such adds no value. And in fact, a data messenger, if that's all you are, as acting as a broker between the person requesting information and the source of that information being your Sage 50 accounting software. If all you are is the broker and the messenger acting as a go-between, you're adding delay into the process and you're adding cost into the process. So if you can grant access to the people that need access to that data in a safe and controlled way, where you still maintain absolute control over the quality of the data held within your Sage 50 accounting software, then surely that is the best of all worlds. And surprise, surprise, that is exactly what we offer to our customers that use Suntico. And we'll take a look at that now. So the very first point that we'll take a look at is the ability to provide safe access to your Sage 50 accounting data by what I've called here laypersons or people outside your finance team. So let's take a quick peek at that. I'll just get through to the right. Company information here. So actually what we have here is we have a web-based application, that is Suntico. It's hosted up in the cloud by Microsoft Azure. And in the background, I have a Sage 50 Accounting 2015 running on the server in our office. And on that server, I also have a small piece of connector software that is installed and synchronizing the data from my Sage 50 accounting software up into Suntico, where it can then be accessed by people outside the finance department. Now, it's not just providing access to the data. Suntico also does a lot more as well, and it supports collaboration between people, between teams, and so on and so forth. But one of the first things you'll notice as we drill down and we can have a look at the data that we've pulled up from our Sage 50 accounting software. And I think the first thing that you'll notice is that the data is presented in a very, very nice, clean, clear way that is very accessible by people that perhaps are not used to looking at the details of your financial records. So it's a very, very accessible from that point of view, but it's also accessible from the fact that it's web-based, which means that your other users can access this data by any internet-enabled device. So I'll just give you an illustration of the kind of things we're talking about. So we've got a nice, powerful search facility here. I can start just typing in any information, and I can see that I have one purchase invoice, 2 locations, 2 contacts, and a vendor account, all containing this string. If I drill down, say to look at the purchase invoice, here I can see that purchase invoice record containing the string AB, and I can drill down to see the further details of that. And I can see any tasks or events that perhaps relate to this particular purchase invoice. If I go back for a second, I'll just drill down and have a look at a couple of other things, just to give you a flavor of the kind of information we're looking at. So here, if I pull up a list of sales invoices, and so here I have all the sales invoices, and say for example I just wanted to view sales invoices by rep. I just drag the sales rep column out there, and so here I've got a list of sales invoices totaling just over $41,000 for the rep branding only, and I have all the other sales rep invoices grouped there. If I wanted to then filter that based on invoice date, I could apply a filter that says, okay, I want to see all sales invoices by rep so far this month. And it's just very, very simple to use, very accessible information for other people across the business. If I wanted to drill down, say for example, and look, if I'd just pick on another example, we'll look at accounts information. And here I've got a list of all the accounts within the business. I've got, in this particular case, I've got customers as well as vendors as well as non-trading accounts. But actually what we see is we've got my bookmarked items. This column on the left-hand side are my personal bookmarks. So these are items that I've bookmarked, and they always appear at the top of the list when I call up a list of accounts. And I can sort these by balance. I could drill down into a particular account record. Let's drill down, for example, into Teesdale, which is one of my Teesdale Real Estate, which is one of my bookmarked accounts. And then within the detail of the Teesdale account record, I can look at the trading history of that account and any current tasks or events that are ongoing. So it's a very, very simple way of providing access, nice, safe access to other people within the business in a very user-friendly way to the Sage 50 data. And that data, how often that data is published up to Suntico is within your control, but typically that would be set between kind of live, which means pretty well as you update Sage, within a couple of minutes that's updated into Suntico, or you could relax it and you could say have it published every 2 hours or so. And again, just within the application, as administrator of Suntico, I can maintain tight control as to who has access to Suntico, who has access to the data, and also what they're able to do, what they're able to see within the application. It's very, very simple, very, very straightforward to control. So we've just talked about providing nice, safe access by laypersons to your Sage 50 accounting data. They can't mess it up, they can't screw it up, but they can view it, they can query it, and they can discuss it, and so on. So actually that moves on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is tracking tasks related to your Sage 50 accounting records. And again, this is something that's very difficult to do within Sage 50, particularly if you want to track tasks across that involve users that don't have direct access to Sage 50. So let's just take a very, very simple example. If you go back to our accounts list and we look at Teesdale Real Estate, and I look at the sales invoices from Teesdale Real Estate, and let's say I can see, for example, that neither of these invoices have been paid. I could create a task involving this invoice 10122 for Callista Swenton or for one of my other colleagues. So if I do new task, and it's an invoicing task, I can reference in the invoice, please chase up for payment. I can assign that to another user within the system. I can set priorities and end dates and make it public or private task and so on, and save that. And that'll send a notification to David Clancy to follow up on this particular invoice for payment, and the two of us can be kept in the loop, and we can maintain a dialogue through the wall of this task as to what's going on. The next thing I said we'd look at is providing mobile access to customer information by salespeople, and we'll take a quick look at that here. And because it's a web-based application, what I've got up on the screen, because it's difficult to show otherwise, I've got an emulator of an iPad, and here you can see we're looking at exactly the same information. What I can do, I can illustrate turning the iPad around, and it just recognizes that and reorganizes the screen accordingly. You can access it through any tablet. It doesn't have to be iPads. It could be Android tablets or any smartphone. The presentation will vary slightly depending on the size of the screen, but it's a very, very nice way to provide direct access to your sales reps in a very quick and easy way, and it stops them having to check up with you in terms of the status of a sales order or whatever. The next thing I want to do is just very quickly look at purchase order or sales order attachments. It might sound quite a subtle thing, but it's something that Sage 50 accounting doesn't support natively. And it can be important because you might want to attach the vendor quote, or you might want to attach alternative vendor quotes with a purchase order, just so you have all this information to hand. So we'll just drill in and we'll pick up an example. If we look at this purchase order here, 10300. And if we wanted, then on the wall of that purchase order, we can add different files or attachments within the system. And I think that's all very, very, very self-explanatory. You can add any file or attachment and just post that to the purchase order. This is something that you can't do within Sage 50 accounting, and not only can you have the attachments, then you can also have a complete discussion around that order, and it keeps all that information in one place together. And finally, what we can do is discuss and approve transactions. And again, this is very important within, or it can be very important within the company, because you may want to seek approval for a transaction or discuss the nature of a transaction or query a transaction with somebody that doesn't necessarily have direct access to Sage 50. So what I've done is I've got a generic task here, approve for payment, and I can add a reference in for this purchase invoice, AP. I can assign that task to, so that this might be somebody, I might be in the finance department requesting an end user who actually was the originator of this invoice to approve this for payment, as in, have they received the goods or the service, and is it all in order? And it's a very, very simple way of doing it. That message is sent to Robert Steininger with a request for approval for payment, and Robert will receive that message, and he can mark that as approved or not. So there we have it, 5 ways in which Suntico can help the finance team in a company that uses Sage 50 accounting in the area of collaboration with across the business with the colleagues, with your other colleagues. Coming up next week, we're starting what I call Series 2, which is a brief look at how you get started using Suntico. So actually next week, we're in the time that it takes you to have a cup of coffee, I'll show you how you can implement a company-wide account management system that connects to your Sage 50 accounting software. Thank you very much for your attention. Again, put this out on your social network, share it with your colleagues, or if you have any questions or queries, please contact me directly at hugh.johnson@suntico.com. Thank you.